Whether you have a cat that ignores you, a dog that chews up your slippers, a bird that sings in the middle of the night, or a hamster that keeps breaking its wheel, taking in a pet isn't always a breeze. In fact, it can be really, really tough. So why are people so drawn to taking in other animals? When these animal lovers adopted a new friend, they had certain expectations for how she would behave around the house. However, after receiving alarming news, they were left wondering what in the world they'd gotten themselves into. Steve Jenkins, a real estate agent and bagpipe player, and his husband Derek Walter, a magician, are two animal lovers from Ontario, Canada. When Steve received a phone call from an old friend in the summer of 2012 asking if he wanted to adopt a micropig, he was hesitant. Micropigs have become a pet trend over the past 2 decades, and it doesn't take much thinking to understand why. The little piglets are absolutely adorable, not to mention they're definitely a unique pet compared to cats and dogs. Still, did Steve really want to adopt his own? After all, he and Derek had already taken in 2 rescue dogs, 2 cats, a turkey, and some koi fish. Would there be room for another 4-legged friend? He said he needed to think about it. A few days later, however, he received another call. The woman on the phone said that she needed Steve's answer as soon as possible because other people were interested. It was enough to make Steve bite the bullet. With Derek at his side, he went to pick up their new pink baby. Her new dads named her Esther, and when they picked her up, she was looking underfed, with sunburnt ears and a collar that was too tight. But once she was home, she made a speedy recovery. She was adapting quickly to the busy household, playing with the other pets, eating normally, and even using the litter box. Once Esther had some time to adjust, it was time for her to be checked up by a vet. The purpose of this was just to see if she was healthy, but the doctor noticed something that nearly knocked her dads off their feet. It was obvious to the vet that Esther's tail had been clipped, which is usually only done in commercial farming. However, micro pigs aren't bred for commercial farming. In other words, it turned out that Esther was a regular old piglet. Whether the woman who contacted Steve had scammed him or if it was simply an honest mistake, Steve and Derek were at a loss for words. Were they ready to raise a regular pig? How big would Esther eventually get? Having already fallen in love with the piglet, they decided to keep her. She acted no different than the dogs did, well-behaved, most of the time, and extremely friendly. Although the vet had said she was underweight and would probably only become about 90 kilograms, or 200 pounds, she already weighed 250 pounds by her first birthday, and she was still growing. She loved every creature in the house, and they all loved her back. The family only grew larger after Esther's arrival, with the addition of another dog and even a turkey. Steve and Derek's hearts were so big, they couldn't resist. Once Esther was fully grown, she weighed around 550 pounds. She was an unstoppable force of love, joy, and loyalty, but she was growing so big, she could barely fit in the house anymore. It was time to make some adjustments. The boys created an Indiegogo page to raise money to swap their house for a farm. It would act as a sanctuary for rescued farm animals, with Esther as the guest of honor. Their home wasn't the only thing they changed for Esther though. Esther's dads couldn't stop thinking about what would have happened to Esther if they had not adopted her. When they looked into Esther's eyes, they could see so much emotion that they became vegetarians in her honor. Esther was becoming more and more popular on social media, so Steve set up a website, EstherTheWonderPig.com, where she quickly gained even more fans. Steve and Derek realized that more people should learn Esther's story. In 2016, they published a book about their loving addition to the family, Happily Ever Esther. It detailed how she responded to her dads and her pet siblings, how they became crazy about her, and how wonderful a pig can be. The book was incredibly successful, and Esther's story was now spreading like wildfire. It wasn't long until Steve and Derek were invited to present a TED Talk about their big little girl. Her story influenced many people, inspiring them to come visit her, convincing them to become vegetarian, or just shedding light onto the loving nature of pigs in general. Her dads called it the Esther effect. Does the couple regret adopting their not-so-micro pig? Not for a minute. As Esther has proved, pigs not only make wonderful pets, they make incredible friends. Just ask one disabled cow in Massachusetts. She felt totally alone in the world until she met this pig. Don't forget us. Pet Us was an animal sanctuary in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and for a long time, it was the home of a blind cow named Baby. Limited by her inability to see, the staff knew she'd likely need care for the rest of her life. Luckily for her, the sanctuary's owner, Deb Devlin, went above and beyond to give Baby the round-the-clock care she required. While Baby was generally content, something wasn't quite right with her. The staff was at a loss. Was she lonely? There weren't any other cows for her to befriend at the sanctuary, after all. As time went by and Baby continued to mope around the farm, the staff grew desperate. Then, they had a revelation. What if they introduced Baby to another animal entirely? Enter Lulu the pig, whose legs were accidentally broken by her mother when she was just a piglet. Though Lulu and Baby were different species, they both had special needs. The staff was willing to bet their unique experiences gave them a gentleness and intuition that would mesh well. Not only did Baby and Lulu both have disabilities, but they had similar backgrounds, too. Having been rescued from slaughterhouses in the United States, they seemed to share a similar demeanor. There was only one way to tell if they'd become friends: have them meet. Much to the staff's delight, Baby and Lulu immediately bonded. I had tried to pair Baby up with other animals, and it just didn't work, one of the caretakers explained. I didn't think the pig would be aggressive to the cow, and the pig was plenty sturdy. If the cow accidentally bumped into her, Lulu would be okay, Deb also explained. She and the rest of her staff kept their fingers crossed that this unlikely friendship would work out. For the next 8 years, Lulu and Baby would form a tight bond. The staff often referred to Lulu as Baby's seeing eye pig. During that time, they were rarely separated and they displayed a friendship that astounded everyone who worked at the sanctuary. While many of the other animals at the facility had free range to go and do as they please, Lulu and Baby were different. They had to learn to have fun much closer to home than the other animals due to their respective disabilities. Luckily for them, that wasn't an issue. Baby and Lulu did practically everything together. Even mealtime wasn't just a routine activity, it was a chance to chow down with a friend. Thanks to Lulu, Baby's blindness wasn't as much of an issue. Sadly, after 8 years together, Lulu's time on Earth had come to an end. After her passing, Baby the cow was once again left in the dark without her seeing eye pig. What was she going to do without her best friend to help her get around? Baby's demeanor changed almost instantly. After Lulu's passing, Baby mooed for 2 days. She also walked in circles frantically, Deb recalled. She was unable to walk straight or she would hit fencing. I tried to pair her with a sheep, a goat, but nothing worked at all. Growing worried, Deb attempted to have Baby mingle with various other animals, but nothing seemed to be able to replace her lost friend. Yet, just when all hope seemed lost, another rescued animal arrived at the sanctuary. It was a baby calf. The sanctuary staff hoped to get the two animals acquainted immediately. The day the calf arrived, I had set up 2 small areas divided by an 8-foot gate. I was hoping to acclimate the 2 side by side first, Deb explained. Deb hoped the animals would become used to being around one another. Baby could get used to her noises, movement, smell, sounds. She was so in tune to those things, not having her sight. Deb was anxious, but she was about to learn that she didn't have to be. When the calf unloaded into her small pen, she was nervous and timid. She quickly saw Baby and she blasted that gate off its hinges. Deb recalled. It was still secured on one side by a chain, so she jumped the 4-foot width of the gate and ran to Baby's side. And just like that, Baby's spirits were up. The spunky new arrival, who'd escaped a slaughterhouse just like Baby, took one look at Baby before she set off like a rocket for the cow. Any worry they wouldn't get along was immediately tossed aside. Of course, no animal could replace Lulu. Still, Baby took the little calf under her wing, so to speak, protecting her and doing all of the things that Lulu once did for her. It was as if she was the little cow's official tour guide. The bond was immediate, the love instant, and even though Baby has never had a baby, she takes care of, protects and nurtures this little calf, all the things Lulu did for her. It is so incredible, Deb said happily. Now, the rescued cows could recover together. While Baby's friendship with Lulu was truly one of a kind, it seemed as if she found a way to continue that with her new friend. Of course, she would always have her beloved Lulu in her heart.